All right, top of the morning to you guys. This is my third attempt. I keep getting distracted. Something comes up. So let me try this again. And I'm going to try to speak as loud as I can so there's no disruption in volume. But I've been giving some thought, and I haven't done one of these thought-provoking, make it kind of think videos because I've just been sitting back watching stuff play out in the world. And I think we all see this country changing faster than any of us could imagine, especially in the last 2.5 years with the whole zombie virus event that we've all gone through, right? Whichever side you're on that spectrum of the fence, whether you're for, against, you believe, you don't, at this point, it doesn't matter, right? Whatever you did or did not do during that time does not matter today. If you've survived the event that we went through and you're here today listening to this, I think you can reflect on it doesn't matter. What matters is that you made it. Whichever side of the fence you're on a subject, if you're here today, you made it. You took a different path, but you made it. Let me stay focused. So this new system that we're seeing play out, this 2.0 new world order, new system, new currency, right? With the whole digital Bitcoin and other digital cash apps that are out there, right? We see that we really are getting away from paper and coin money. I see that playing out. It's not going to happen tomorrow, next month, next year, but I would bet to say in the next 5 to 7 years we're really going to see that depleted, gone, because when they can control you through digital currency and know everything about you, right? Carbon footprints, and they can get you away from the coin. That's better for them, right? That's more control. They see what you're doing. They know what you're doing. They can't see you when you pay paper, cash, or by coin, right? When the money's off the books, when the money is not visible and they can't touch it and you have it in your hand and you're feeling it and exchanges it from one hand to the next, they, Big Brother, can't see that, right? They are definitely trying to get us away from that way of living, that mindset. And I don't want to ramble too much. I'm trying to stay on point, so just bear with me. But you see this new system, this new currency, this new world order, this woke 2.0 country that we're living in, that we're experiencing. And I can't speak for other countries because I don't live there. I live here in the United States. That said, imagine this, right? Imagine, and let me say this before I continue my story. Imagine a group of people, a community, whether we want to talk about the indigenous Native Americans that were here before Christopher Columbus discovered America, right? It's a joke, right? All the history books have changed now. And truth is always revealed. It may take years and years later, but whatever history you remember or know growing up, if you're my age or older, whatever you were taught in school, the history's changing, right? There's no doubt. There's no denying that some of it was not brought to the forefront or not revealed correctly, right? History was created to benefit the new settlers. If you want to call them colonizers, if you want to call them, white Anglo-Saxon Americans, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not even really on the whole race thing. But history is created for those that it benefits the most. I think we can all agree, whichever side of the fence you're on, whether it's benefit you or you you see that it's hindered you in life, or your past, your family members. We're here today. I can't change that, right? You can't change that. But we know that history is created to benefit certain people, certain groups, right? And get away from the skin color thing, but just certain groups of any countries, right? It's just it's power, it's greed, it's money, it's etc. But imagine people that grew up in an era, whichever you want to pick out, if it's the Western days, if it's the New Settler days, if it's the Roman Empire, it doesn't matter. You pick a century, you pick a generation, you pick an era. And think about the people that grew up in that time that were taught whatever it is they were taught. And they believed it, they grew up on it, right? When that next generation comes along, whatever nationality, whatever nation they're from, whatever group, whatever ethnic background, that new generation, whether it's the next one or the third one or the follow, at some point, that next generation of people, of community that come from other countries here or whatever, will find that that system, that way of thinking, that way of living does not benefit or work for them. So what do? They slowly change the system. They slowly change the history, or they bring up the true history so that it can benefit them. There's no harm in that, right? The truth is the truth. They slowly change that system. How do they start? With education, right? You start in education, you start where the history begins, where it's taught. You may not make a difference in that generation, that group of class students, but you start there. And then you continue to that next class, that next generation. By the third or fourth, you start to see a little turn in the tide, right? As you continue, it progresses more, right? Because what happens is that generation that grew up, and let's just say my generation or the generation before me, the boomers or the Gen X, we will eventually die off, right? And there will be no one to carry that legacy of that mindset, that personality, that how we grew up with great values, strong values, employment, etc. Work hard, do right, be honest. Our generation will die off, and people will forget about us, right? And people will the next following generations after this woke 2.0 may look into the history, or may find some curiosity out of how we used to live our lives, right? I always believe in some hope that our mindset will carry on. But that said, how do you think governments work? How do you think that new nations work? They wait for that generation that gives them the most trouble, the most hell, to die off. They're like, let them phase out, right? Just like robots, right? Equipment, machinery, it may run for, 10, 15, 20 years. Eventually, that system has to change. So they wait for that system of robots, or that elite, that line of robots, to die off. And they create new machines, new generations, right? For whatever it benefits them, to make them not last as long, or to just make them faster, smarter, more capable, more memory. And that is how they treat the American citizens, this human population that eventually we will die off. Eventually our way of living, thinking, mindset, which if you grew up in my generation compared to today's world, would be offensive to many people, right? And how do you change that? How do you change someone that was raised a certain way, good or bad, however you see them? How do you change them? How do you expect them to change if that's how they grew up? So, I don't fully blame that individual if that's the way they were raised, even if it's wrong in my eyes. But you will be phased out, and all you can do is hope and pass on whatever knowledge you can for the next generation. All right. It's been a nice conversation. Red out.